Hidden Object Guru here with a look at some VR games I've played recently. As always, these will be rated out of 10 based on how excited I am to play some more of them. Polus Point. Shell Games was kind enough to invite me to preview the new Among Us VR map, Polus Point, which gave me a perfect excuse to finally check out Among Us in VR. So, first things first, this is the best possible version of Among Us. The art style looks fantastic in VR, all of the tasks are a snap to perform by simply tapping screens or grabbing simple objects, but most importantly, everything's scarier and more intense. Regular Among Us blinds players and makes them vulnerable by having a window come up when they're doing a task. And that's fine, but it's so much more effective to have the player actually looking at the thing they're trying to do, forcing them to glance over their shoulder if they see someone sneaking up on them. Likewise, the twisty tunnels are so much more foreboding in first person. With a top-down view, players have a good idea of their surroundings. But in VR, you can only ever be sure of what's directly in front of your face. Yes, there's a downside in that players are forced to vocally participate if they want to succeed at the various meetings. Typing really isn't a valid option in VR, as you have to do it with a pointer and a window. And with just a few moments to get your point across, I can't imagine anyone being able to say anything much more detailed than "red sus." But what about the new map? I'm happy to say that it's a delight as well. Polus Point is a research station on some frozen planet where scientists are seemingly studying lava flow. Do I have any idea why? Not at all. Although a few more hours in the map and maybe there are some clues. The dual fire and ice theme provides interesting options for the level designers, allowing players to go, by moving just 2 rooms, from catwalks suspended in a chasm over molten rock to the snow-covered banks of a lava river. Perhaps I spent too much time on that spaceship in the original version of Among Us, but I still find it jarring to be outdoors in the game. It's quite obvious that the map was designed with VR in mind, rather than being reverse engineered from an existing 2D concept. Everywhere you look, there are interesting things being done with sightlines, both in the case of blind corners and tucked away hiding areas that advantage the killers, as well as windows and fences that players can use to see into other rooms. The limited field of vision players have in VR obviously advantages the imposters, but Shell Games have gone out of their way to build a map that goes a long way towards leveling the playing field. Also, worth noting that I'm a huge fan of the new way people get killed when voted off. That lava pit is amazing. Among Us VR is great, and the map is exceptional. I look forward to spending a lot more time in it. 9 out of 10. Moss 2. What am I supposed to say here, other than that it's perfect? This is the 3rd time I've played through Moss 2, and it's as great as ever. It was incredible on PC, it was better on Quest 2, because I had a joystick instead of that god-awful Vive touchpad. And now that the game is on PSVR 2, it's the best version yet, combining the perfect controls of the Quest version with the gorgeous graphics and smooth motion of the PC. The game itself is as wonderful as ever. Beautifully detailed worlds, clever puzzles, captivating story. There's literally nothing to complain about. If pressed, I'd say that it was a little annoying to have to go back and earn all of the powers that Quill possessed at the end of Moss, but that's a fairly standard gameplay trope. There are now a large number of games that make strong arguments for VR being the best place for 3D platforming, and none provides a better case than Moss 2, the absolute pinnacle of vignette-style gameplay. 10 out of 10. Ghost Town Mine Ride and Shooting Gallery. A haunted mine ride has attracted the player's attention, and their curiosity will be rewarded with life-threatening danger. An extremely basic rail shooter in the most literal sense, Ghost Town takes players through a dark and eerie environment, surrounded on all sides by jump scares, both those designed to be part of the thrill ride, and those caused by the angry ghosts of the miners who were killed in a collapse decades earlier. I can confirm that the game is effectively frightening. It knows just when to spring a scare, and just how loud to jack the volume up while doing it. It's too bad the game is so difficult to play from a mechanical standpoint, though. First, there was the hand issue. The game forces players to always have a gun in one hand and a flashlight in the other. The problem is that the game defaulted to putting the gun in my left hand no matter what I tried. At the start of the game, there's a button that says left or right-handed. So I hit right-handed, and it put the gun in my left. I restarted the game and I said I was left-handed in the main menu, and on that menu, the gun, thankfully, moved over to my right hand. Then I started the game, and it was back on my left. I'm guessing the ghosts arranged this to prevent me from shooting accurately? The bigger problem, though, is the game's lack of rotation commands. Moving forward is accomplished by pulling the trigger on the flashlight controller. Turning has to be done in real life, which is something of a nightmare in a game where I'm constantly asked to spin back and forth, fending off approaching threats. This is a game from 2016, so it's not like the VR mechanics were completely locked down at that time, but this seems like a bad thing to have missed, especially because it makes what's a genuinely creepy and thrilling experience a chore to play. I wish it was a little more accessible because, while it's not going to be Switchback, it could have been pretty great. 6 out of 10. Broken Spectre. I'm just going to say it, hand tracking is weird. I get the idea, have players control things with their hands to make them feel more involved with the game world, but it's still really awkward to do. The fidelity of the hand tracking was shockingly impressive. Seeing my hands moving in real time was a little disorienting at first. But then I tested whether I could actually interlace my fingers, and as the game recreated that, I was blown away by how far the tech had come. While that technology is great, the implementation is a little shaky. While moving from place to place is simple enough, point an open hand at a destination until a compass appears, then close the hand, interacting with items is a disaster. Rather than something simple like allowing the player to point their hand at an object until it's highlighted, and then grab it, the game asks players to hold their hand at a strange angle somewhere related to the object that they want to pick up, and then kind of like shift their hand around until a line appears linking the object to their hand. Only then can they make a fist to grab it. The whole process is awkward and frustrating, which kind of spoiled what's a genuinely scary experience. The player controls a woman looking for their long-missing father on the slopes of a cursed mountain. The father was a botanist, you see, and he discovered mysterious mutant hybrid plants on the mountain, then became obsessed with cataloging and researching them. Frankly, he's a little hard to relate to. When I saw the plants in question, hideous growths covered with human teeth, ferns with leaves made out of crow feathers, my first instinct was to destroy the forest with a fire. Not having that option, at least as far as I made it into the game, instead I pressed on, learning more about this woman's family history and the secrets of the mountain. At the core of this game is a compelling mystery, one interesting enough that I'll probably muddle through the awkward controls and see it through to the end. Although, if we're being honest, I'll probably switch to controller mode at some point. 7 out of 10. Zombies Noir, Mixed Reality. Zombies Noir offers an interesting premise. Fight zombies in your own living room. Of course, it's gotta be a pretty darn big living room to have a chance of the game functioning at all. The game starts with players getting a chance to map out their play space. This establishes the portals that the game's zombies are going to be walking through. It's an interesting effect, actually. The player looks at their fuzzy gray room and sees doors that open up to the cobblestone streets of a darkened city. Then zombies lumber through the doors and chase you around the room. I mean that literally. This game is for room-scale play only. You're expected to be able to move around the space, avoiding zombie attacks. The zombies are huge and move at a decent clip, so expect it to get pretty challenging pretty quickly. Between each wave, a salesman shows up to let the player mod their weapons or buy new ones, as well as grab a free perk. And then the match continues. I can't say I love the game. The weapons all feel underpowered because zombies don't really react to getting shot. And while there's a decent variety of zombie types, all of them are really bullet spongy in the same way that kind of flattens out the variety quickly. It's nice that some vomit on you and some throw tools, but fundamentally, they're all just lumbering oafs that I have to shoot 8 times in the head. It's an interesting experiment, and if the zombie shooting was as impressive as the technology on display, I'd definitely be headed right back to shoot more of them. But for now, it's only a 5 out of 10. Tentacular. You're a tentacle beast that gets a job disposing of hazardous waste and then stumbles into a plot, and you have to help save the people of your town from an alien threat. What more do I need to say? Based on the premise alone, you already know whether you want this game or not. So all I can do is tell you whether Tentacular lives up to the goals that it has set out for itself. It absolutely does, and I'm not going to risk spoiling any more of this delightful game. Just play it for yourself. This is absolutely a must play. 9 out of 10. Now it's disclosure time. In addition to giving me a copy of Among Us VR to test the new map out on, Shell Games has previously paid me to make promotional content for the game I Expect You to Die. While I was not paid for this review, you're free to dismiss my opinions based on my previous financial connection to Shell Games, if you so choose. I've been the Hidden Object Guru, thanks for watching. If you had a good time, please like and subscribe. I'll see you back here when I've had time to play some more games, but until then, au revoir.